Boys and girls, how's it going? This is your old Uncle Hunter here, and I'm here with my good bud Scott.
Oh, hey, kid.
Yuck. Welcome to welcome. Wow, that was a good goofy. Welcome to another real edition of Real Pineapple here. Hit the subscribe button there on our SoundCloud. Go ahead and leave us comments on Facebook. Let us know how we can improve, because this is all about you guys, boys and girls. We're here to entertain you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, you're getting free content for now. But
We'll find a way to charge you.
yeah, exactly. But we're here talking about How I Met Your Mother, specifically the finale. And I was really curious on how they were going to end this. They've been setting some things up. I'm just like, all right.
Talk about your viewership. Like, are you like a dedicated viewer of this show? Like, you feel like you have? Because I don't feel like I don't have a lot of room to criticize because I haven't watched it a ton.
Okay, I'll say this. This show went on 9 seasons, and I'm sorry, the best shows shouldn't go that long. And my big beef with it was that you just kind of felt the wheel starting to kind of drop off as far as the show is concerned. It was like, this is something that clearly should end in season 7, but people kept watching, so they're like, fuck it, let's keep it going. But
I feel like it kind of turns into like, hey, this is what Barney does that's really funny, and they just kind of like repeat a lot of stuff. Like, after a while, it's just the same formula, different story.
see, the thing is though, like, and I think this is something people don't want to admit, I think the cast was so strong overall, they kind of had a little bit of room to kind of do that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, doesn't mean you should. And it just got to a point where you couldn't get invested in the story anymore, because any girl Ted met, you're like, all right, you've been faking me out this whole time. You're pretty much telling me this isn't his wife, his future wife, so why would I give a shit when he's in these relationships? And
I remember. So this is obviously a spoiler show.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, we're
haven't seen this finale yet.
Yeah,
I wouldn't listen to this.
We're gonna spoil the shit out of the series finale. So if you haven't watched it, turn off now and go back and watch it, and then come back. But sorry, what were you saying?
Yeah, and I don't know. I forget what I was saying.
All right, fair enough. Well,
you want to kind of go through it?
Yeah, let's just kind of jump into some points. So, and the thing is, like, as much as there is that happens in this, it's kind of easy to wrap up. Like, you kind of learn a little bit more about the mom. You find out her name, at least. Her name's Tracy. Barney ends up getting divorced from Robin, which...
Did you... It felt like you called this. Like,
yeah.
I feel like you said
I did
a while back, the bass player. I remember you saying
yeah,
that.
I said the bass player. And that's the thing. Like, if you're paying attention, you can kind of piece this together before...
I don't want to give you too much credit for it.
No. I did call the bass player. And I called that Robin and Barney are going to get divorced. Because, like, even just seeing them in the relationship, you're like, there's no fucking way this is going to work. Like,
there's a lot that happened in this episode, I will say. I feel like they almost too much for shock value. And it's like, this happens. Like, something major happens to pretty much every single person in this group.
I think the big problem this season did is that they made the whole season take place over the wedding weekend, which I was just like, why would you do that? I was like, whoever's writing decision that was a horrendous decision to make right off the bat. That was number one. And then number two, you introduce us to the mother at the very end of season 8, and then she's not really in this season that much. At least not as much as I think she warranted to be, considering we've been waiting 8 fucking seasons to meet her. It's kind of like, well, why did you wait this long, and why are we getting this little time with her?
So you would have liked to see maybe a season with her?
I would have liked to see a little more. Yeah, like...
They did go through... They basically, at the end, go through the next 10 years of their lives or so. And like it goes through them like getting married and even possibly having kids.
But to wrap that up in an hour, though, it was less than an hour.
That's what I'm saying. They went through a lot of content in a short period of time.
And that was another problem I had. So let's just so Marshall and Lily, they have another kid, shocker or whatever. Like, to be perfectly honest,
they run the parent thing into the ground.
They really have with them. It's like, all right, you guys like to fuck.
Because you can't really go back from that. Like, once they're like married and have parents, like they're not going to be going out all the time. So that just eliminates them from the excitement factor of the group, I guess.
This is going to sound so fucked up. And I guarantee you, people in the comments are going to be like, "Oh my god, how can you?" But I would have almost rather preferred that Lily lost the kid and to be no, hear me out.
Don't hold yourself back for the audience.
Oh, I'm please, like I've done that before. But like the reason I say that is because you remember, like I don't know how much you've watched, but I remember I think it was season 3 that Marshall's dad died. I remember when that shit came, you're like, holy shit! Like it was a gut punch. You're like, wow. It would have been kind of nice for... not nice, that's a terrible term to use for this, but it would have been interesting to see, like, Lily loses the third kid, and then it got kind of being something that brings the group back together. Like, them actually having a reason to get back together, because the reasons they kind of have, like, Barney... So, Barney ends up becoming a dad with some chick he randomly knocks up, and you're just kind of like... The gang like gets together for that, and you're like, that's kind of weird that he just got divorced from Robin, and they're all like, oh hey, you have a kid with some random girl you banged on your attempt at a perfect month. It's like, why would you celebrate? You know what I mean? It felt two-faced in that way.
Yeah, I just can't get away from just the blatant like act in the scene. I feel like just takes it all over. Not scene, but in this last episode is like what. So it kind of gets to the point where like he ends up with Robin, and like,
Ted
does, yeah. And I thought it was just so cheap. Like, oh, they're just gonna put them back together. She just conveniently died, and the kids just, I don't know, just feel like that was obviously the worst part about this episode.
Well, before we get on that, let me just finish this thing up with Barney real quick. One thing that did bug me is that, even though Barney and Robin being together, like, I never bought it. I'm just like, okay, this isn't gonna work. There's no way. But what I liked is that Barney actually showed some character growth. Like, he wasn't this womanizing douche all the time. He was actually, like, becoming nicer and actually being there for his friends more. And in the series finale, they literally negate all that progress in like a half hour. And you're like, why were you having him be this nice guy then if you're just gonna hit the reset button and be like, oh, well, he's back to being a womanizing, douche. It's like, why even go through all that character development? It felt like a really big cop-out. It felt like they almost had nothing else to do with them. They're kind of like, all right, what can we do that might kind of work with some fans, but, it gives them a purpose to be around. And that really bugged me. And to touch on what you just said, this is my biggest problem with the finale. I felt that, the mom dying, which I called. I remember, like, a couple months ago, I'm like, oh, she's gonna... I remember thinking, what is the most irritating thing that these guys could do to really piss me off? And I was just like, because, like...
Because it takes them so... The whole thing is that it takes them so long to find this girl.
Yeah, and like...
And then she's just like... he's like the Ben Stiller of...
Wow, that's
TV
that's kind of mean.
in the way that all of his characters, everybody just shits on,
what's frustrating, and I'll get a little personal, go a little story time with Hunter here, is, coming up on 27, watching this show, I'm like, I'm still looking for that special someone. Hope you're out there, ladies, but
hit subscribe.
But yeah, exactly. But I'll be the first to admit, kind of watching this show, I was like, you know what? In a really weird way, this show, it's kind of like with Jim and Pam in The Office. It was like, it gave me just that little bit of hope when I was like, oh god, it's like, god, dating fucking sucks. It's like, you know what? This kind of gives me just a little slither of maybe she's still out there. But this whole show is called How I Met Your Mother. So when he meets the mom of his kids, you're like, oh, okay, awesome. But then by killing her in the same goddamn episode, you're like, what was the point of this show?
Yeah, really.
And that's the biggest, like... And I was talking to Colin about this. I think I talked to you about this as well. I always kind of cringe when a show's like, hey, we're going to have our series finale, because it's never, oh man, everybody loves this, or everybody hates it. There's no happy medium. It's one of the two. I mean, you know, we're, what, 9 years away, 9 years removed from the series finale of Lost, and people still bitch about how Lost ended. I mean, people... I know we're a year off of it. I think a year. And Breaking Bad just ended, which we will do a whole show on next month. And, you know, people still talk about how great Breaking Bad's ending was. I don't know it, so don't put it in the fucking comments, or I'm still catching up. So, I mean, going into this, I was like, they're either gonna sink or they're gonna swim. Like, it's gotta go one way or the other. I don't think they can have it can be just a happy medium. And I was kind of okay, like, not satisfied, but I was okay with how this finale was going. But then that last 4 minutes, I was like, you know what? You just pretty much gave me the biggest middle finger you possibly could have, and I felt cheap is the right word for it. That's exactly what I thought the ending was. Because I will say one thing, the mother, like, from the little bit you know about her, she was so sweet. And she was cute, and she was quirky like Ted, and you could actually buy that she would put up with all this architect talking bullshit and all the other random crap that he does. Like, it made sense. You're like, okay. But him getting with Robin anyway, it's like, well, why didn't he stop the wedding when Barney and her were going to get married, when he found her locket? Because she even calls him on it. He's like, why didn't he just go...
I think that's one of the major flaws about these, like, Friends type shows where everybody's friends, is because everybody ends up sleeping with each other, and, like, that just gives them an excuse at the end for them to just be like, oh, they've already slept together, they were in love the whole time. Like, they're just going to end up together because, like, they can't go outside that group or that circle, I feel, and they're just like, oh... You know, I don't. It just seemed, like you're saying, really cheap.
As someone that has been here with people he's dated, or girls where it's like, oh, well, we could date, or it just hasn't come together or whatever. One thing I will say that really pissed me off is Ted chased Robin for like 2 seasons, like solidly for 2 seasons, and she keeps going like, oh well, I don't know, and she keeps giving him just enough line to keep him around, but not enough to secure anything. And at a point, I was just like, move the fuck on. It's like, she's not worth it. And then, because one of the things of Robin's own admission is how emotionally closed off she is. And she talks about how she's trying to get better, but she really kind of doesn't throughout the whole show. I mean, she gets a little better, but not nearly where she should be if she's going to date someone like Ted. So when the show ends with Ted holding up the blue horn, which was from like season 1. Like, I was just like, you know what? Whatever. Like, it really was just like the show being like, alright, what can we do that's really cheesy, but that calls back to the first season, because they're supposed to be together all along. Bullshit. I call absolute bullshit on it. And to be honest with you, I remember when I got to the end of the episode, I remember just kind of sitting there and I had to chew on it for a little bit. I was like, okay, I'm gonna dwell. I'm gonna let this digest. I'm gonna simmer down now. I'm gonna relax. And the more I thought about it, the angrier I got, because it just felt like a lazy ending, honestly. But Scott, your thoughts, man? I feel like I'm ranting now. I'm gonna let Daddy get a little bit of his medicine here.
No, I do agree with you. I feel like definitely not one of the better finales I've seen, but they just crammed a lot of, like, quote unquote past stuff into this episode to make you, oh yeah, I remember that, oh yeah, I remember that, oh yeah, I remember that part. Well, and I just like the ending was lazy and like I hate when directors or like writers just feel like they can kind of just do whatever they want, and those like, I mean, obviously they can, which is the sad part, but I don't know. It's just, I mean, just have disregard for the viewer, and I feel like that's what it's like. Let's have them get together.
Well, you know, and the thing was like, I remember looking on Twitter and looking on Facebook and just looking online, and a lot of people shared. Most people actually shared what we said. They're just like, what the fuck, really? Like, that's how you end it? So, I mean, it's not like it's just us. If you go online, it really is a pretty consistent thing across the board. I mean, like, most people are just like, why would they end? Really? And it's funny, like, 4 episodes back, they kind of telegraphed that the mom was dying. And it's one of those things that happens, and if you're paying attention, you're going to be like, oh, motherfucker. And I remember, like, I had my suspicions that the mom's going to die anyway, but after I saw this one scene, I was just like, oh, well, you just pretty much played your hand right there, so now I'm pretty much prepared for the, you know, you don't need to give me Lou. I know you guys are going to fuck me on the last episode anyway, but yeah, I was disappointed by this, honestly, and I feel like for Ted, considering how long it took for him to find this woman, and then you kind of go like, oh, well.
Here's Robin.
Yeah, it's like, that's not the girl for him. And I feel like that's the message the show kind of sends, is that it's like, oh, well, yeah, he was looking for the mother of who he wanted to have kids with, but see, it's okay.
The next best thing is always pretty good, right?
And you know what? And that, you just hit the nail on the head. God, you're so brilliant. You must have been a substitute teacher at one point. That's how, like...
Is that how you judge intelligence? By, like...
Pretty much.
You've got, like... I don't know. Like, lawnmower, and then, like, substitute teacher.
Yeah, it pretty much goes, like, lawnmower, like, yardscapist is, like, the bottom. Then it's like artist. Then it goes like singer.
Then it's like physicist. And then it's like substitute teacher.
Correct. Yeah. Then and like right under that is maid. Depending on how you look in the costume, please. But I really was upset by it. I was mad. I was pissed at this, honestly. And the more I thought about it, the madder I got. I was just like, guys, you had a chance to end this with something special. And like, let's face it. I mean, Marshall and Lily, I mean, they've been happy for what seems like since fucking season 3 when Lily, 2 or 3 when Lily came back from San Francisco. They haven't really had any conflict at all. Barney's been out banging whomever he wants with very little consequence. Robin's kind of been floating around. It's like, the show revolves around Ted. Why can't he get his happiness after pretty much having the world just constantly throw him curveballs and him taking the high road? To be perfectly honest, an ungodly amount of times. There have been a lot of points where things have happened. You're just like, you know what? No. Like, no one's this nice. I consider myself pretty nice, and even I was watching some of the points.
Alright, is this about the show, or is this about the episode?
I'm sorry. Like,
I feel like you have a few things to say about the show as a whole.
I do, because, like, because I think this sends a bad message, honestly. I think it sends a bad message that, like, oh, hey, you can find that person, but, you know, something happens, and you kind of... I feel like he regressed, honestly, afterwards. I think that's what pissed me off the most. And by the way, they never say what the mom dies of, which kind of bothered me. They're just kind of like, oh, well, she got sick. Those
horrible cancer things.
Yeah, they said, oh yeah, she got sick. I'm like, okay, so was it like, was it leprosy? What the fuck was it like? I mean, it's like,
AIDS.
Like, tell me Ted gave her AIDS. That'd be a twist.
and that's what he tells the kids at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've all got AIDS too. What?
From the makers of How I Met Your Mother, How I Killed Your Mother. But, like, I mean, it's just... things just didn't feel well thought out. And, yeah, I was mad. Like...
No, does this, like, warrant a grade? No. Does this finale warrant a grade?
Now, do you want me to grade the show, or do you want me to grade the finale?
I was going to say the finale because I can't really grade the show because I haven't seen it enough. Like I know the general premise, and I've seen most of like the seasons, but I feel like I can't genuinely judge the show.
I have seen every episode of How I Met Your Mother, so overall the show, I'll give it a B-. Okay. The finale really bothered me. And the finale itself, I'll give it a C-.
Did you? So you just pretty much like Barney basically in that show.
See, I like
because a B- isn't that great.
Yeah, like okay. One thing I will say, so there's a point where Neil Patrick Harris is holding his new daughter, and it really shows how good of an actor Neil Patrick Harris can be because he turned on those waterworks like a mother. I was like, wow.
Okay. Broadway actor.
I was like, okay, yeah, and it shows that he does Broadway. I was like, wow, that was impressive. And I love Jason Segel on there. Like I've always loved that dude. So I mean, there's definitely stuff about the show to love. I think if anything, if you're watching the show, you can just stop at season 5, skip to 6 and 7 and 8, and then just kind of watch the finale. You'd be okay. The finale just really pissed me off. It felt unresolved. It felt at points uninspired, and it really did feel like let's just cram as much random shit from the show, as many references as we can, to make the fans go, oh, I recognize that. Oh, yeah, I was disappointed. So yeah, C- for me. What about you for the finale? What would you give it?
Yeah, finale, like I think I'd probably give it a C. Like it was bearable, but like the end was. I kind of like where a few twists went throughout it, but I felt like they had to cram everything in, and they just kind of disregarded the viewer at the end, and just really kind of did what they want, and just kind of left a bad taste in your mouth afterwards.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, one thing I will say is this makes the Sopranos series finale look so much better now. Like you get. Sorry to piss anyone off.
Finales must be really hard because not a lot of people get them right.
That's true. I mean,
I think Breaking Bad, like they're like probably the first half of their final season could have been their finales. Like that was so crazy, and it almost didn't even end on a climax necessarily. But I mean, it did. But you haven't seen it, right?
Correct. Yeah, don't. well, to this day, my two favorite series finales are Chuck's series finale, which ends in a way where you are just like, wow, that gave me everything I wanted. Thank you. And then the series finale of The Shield is to this day my favorite series finale of anything. I think that finale is absolutely brilliant. So. Watch those shows if you haven't watched them. They're really great shows. You can watch them on Amazon or Netflix, respectively. But yeah, this was disappointing, to say the very least. Just to kind of wrap it up. So, oh well. Scott, will you stare?
Good night, boys and girls.
Hit that subscribe button there and like us on Facebook. And check out our YouTube channel here in the next couple of weeks. We'll be having. Be uploading video shorts of our reviews, animated shorts. So look out for that. So have a good night.
I'm gonna look so cool as a cartoon.